Twisting through space like a celestial serpent, PGC 54559 defies the conventional shapes of galaxies. Its body curves with an unsettling elegance, as if a spiral galaxy had been seized and bent mid-motion by an unseen force. From certain angles, it resembles a backbone straining under cosmic pressure, or a worm swimming through the vacuum, coiling with gravitational unease. This galactic contortion hints at a history far more turbulent than a simple rotation around a central bulge. Scientists suspect that such warping is no accident of formation, but the fingerprint of gravitational interactions. Perhaps PGC 54559 once drifted too close to a larger neighbor, whose tidal forces pulled at its arms and core with enough strength to torque its disk. These galactic encounters are not rare, but the specific result, this exaggerated hook, suggests a particularly dramatic event or a series of near collisions that sculpted the galaxy over millions of years. Its curvature isn't just aesthetic, it encodes the story of invisible dynamics, of past proximity, of cosmic negotiations between mass and momentum. What's especially intriguing is how such a distorted shape still holds together. In simulations, galaxies with extreme warps often fragment or settle into a new form. Yet PGC 54559 persists, like a fossilized ripple from an ancient gravitational tide. Its stars continue their orbits, albeit along oddly skewed paths, and its dark matter halo, though invisible, must be playing a crucial role in keeping this strange configuration from flying apart. It's a dance of chaos and order, stretched across kiloparsecs. From a structural standpoint, its morphology challenges our understanding of disk stability and angular momentum conservation. Galaxies are supposed to flatten out over time, their stars settling into a rotational equilibrium. But PGC 54559 resists this narrative. It keeps its twist like a scar, possibly a permanent one. And that opens questions: how resilient are galactic disks to perturbation? Can a shape this irregular still give birth to stars, or is it a relic, post-starburst and fading? Observations in various wavelengths may help decode the mystery. Infrared imaging could reveal whether new stars are still forming in its bent arms, glowing with warm dust and gas agitated by tidal turbulence. Ultraviolet traces might hint at recent stellar births clinging to the edges of distortion, while radio surveys could uncover filaments of hydrogen, either feeding the galaxy or being siphoned away. If the twist disrupted the inflow of gas, PGC 54559 might be on a path toward quiescence, its shape a prelude to dormancy. But if it's still drawing material from its surroundings, then this cosmic worm could be alive and evolving in unexpected ways. Equally fascinating is the possibility of a hidden companion, an unseen dwarf galaxy or dark halo that once brushed past PGC 54559 and left it deformed. Gravitational interactions don't require visible mass to leave an imprint. The warp could be the only visible clue of a long-vanished or now-distant perturber. This makes the galaxy not just an object of study, but a kind of gravitational crime scene, with the curvature as evidence and the stars as silent witnesses. In the broader context of galactic evolution, PGC 54559 is a reminder that not all cosmic structures settle into serenity. Some retain the tension of their past, stretched and torqued into unfamiliar geometries. These anomalies force astronomers to refine their models, to accommodate the strange alongside the orderly. They may also reveal the underlying flexibility of disk galaxies, how much bending they can endure without breaking, how memory is etched into stellar distributions. Like a fossilized ripple in spacetime, PGC 54559 whispers of a dance long over, of forces no longer present but still felt. Its arc is not a flaw, but a signature, of motion, of encounter, of cosmic drama. It remains curled in the dark, not random, not ruined, but uniquely shaped by the invisible choreography of the universe. PGC 54559 is not merely a curiosity, it is a galactic enigma, twisting the expectations of form and function into a shape that refuses easy classification. At first glance, it appears as though a grand design spiral galaxy had been abruptly interrupted mid-formation, its arms grasped and bent into a sinuous hook. The curvature is so extreme that it evokes more organic comparisons than astronomical ones, a cosmic worm gliding through space, or the vertebrae of a celestial spine, arched under some invisible pressure. But behind its strange elegance lies a story of gravitational tension, cosmic memory, and resilience on intergalactic scales. Galaxies are creatures of balance, between rotation and collapse, between internal cohesion and external disruption. For PGC 54559 to exhibit such a pronounced deformation, it must have experienced a powerful encounter, likely a close flyby with a massive galaxy or a tidal interaction that didn't result in a merger, but left a lasting scar. These encounters stretch and shear the stellar disk, pulling stars into new trajectories, redistributing angular momentum and distorting the otherwise flattened geometry. Such interactions are not just moments, they are eras, unfolding over hundreds of millions of years. And the result, in this case, is a shape that breaks symmetry but retains coherence. Computer simulations of galactic interactions reveal that such distortions are fleeting in cosmic terms. Over time, gravity tends to smooth irregularities, re-establishing rotational symmetry unless new forces intervene. The persistence of PGC 54559's warp structure suggests either that the event was relatively recent on astronomical timescales, or that the perturbation was so profound that equilibrium has not yet returned, and may never. Its stars continue to orbit the galactic center, but not in tidy circular paths. Instead, they trace complex, asymmetric routes shaped by the memory of violence. To fully understand PGC 54559, astronomers look beyond optical images. Infrared observations could penetrate obscuring dust, revealing whether molecular gas clouds are being compressed by the deformation, potentially triggering star formation in unexpected regions. A warp might act as a gravitational funnel, channeling material into localized starbursts. Alternatively, the twist may represent a cutoff, where gas inflow has been disrupted, leaving the outer region starved and aging. Radio telescopes could map the neutral hydrogen, exposing telltale streams or filaments extending from the galaxy like trails of escape, evidence of mass loss or exchange. The question of dark matter looms large. Galaxies like PGC 54559 don't just hold themselves together with visible mass. Their ability to resist tidal disintegration implies a massive, stabilizing halo of dark matter, an invisible framework that anchors the stars and gas despite the strain. The shape of the warp could even help map the distribution of this hidden mass, turning the galaxy's deformation into a diagnostic tool. In this sense, its abnormality becomes an asset to science, a window into the gravitational scaffolding of the cosmos. There's also the haunting possibility of a phantom companion, a galaxy that once swept past, exerted its tidal influence, and vanished into the void. Such flybys are difficult to trace unless the culprit leaves other clues, a tail of stars, a bridge of gas, or a shared velocity vector. If PGC 54559 has no visible partner nearby, it may have interacted with something now invisible, either lost in darkness or absorbed in a more distant collision. The curvature of its disk becomes the only surviving evidence of that ghostly encounter, a frozen echo of gravitational dialogue. In a universe of spirals, ellipticals, and lenticulars, PGC 54559 resists tidy taxonomy. It is a reminder that galaxies are not static objects, but evolving participants in a cosmic dance. Each one bears the imprint of its history, and some, like this contorted marvel, wear it on their sleeves. Its form is not a failure of structure but a triumph of endurance, a warped testament to the dynamism of galactic life. PGC 54559 is not simply a cosmic worm. It is a distorted archive of intergalactic interaction, a probe into the limits of disk stability, and a quiet protest against uniformity in the night sky. In studying its twisted beauty, we are reminded that the cosmos does not favor symmetry for its own sake. It favors stories of motion, encounter, resistance, and sometimes, the most fascinating tales are told by the galaxies that refuse to conform. To gaze upon PGC 54559 is to witness the residue of cosmic choreography, where structure and distortion coexist in a delicate, evolving equilibrium. Its bent profile is more than a visual anomaly, it's an astrophysical narrative etched into the fabric of space, a tale written in gravitational language. Each arc and asymmetry carries the weight of billions of years of momentum, collisions, and adaptation. Unlike idealized textbook spirals that seem to swirl in perfect harmony, PGC 54559 whispers of a universe that is not always gentle, yet astonishingly resilient. This resilience is what captivates astronomers. Despite its contorted disk, the galaxy hasn't collapsed into chaos. It hasn't torn itself apart. It hasn't gone dark. Instead, it continues to function, rotating, radiating, possibly forming new stars, and anchoring itself in space with a quiet tenacity. How such a form maintains internal balance is an open question. Theories suggest that in heavily warped galaxies, dark matter halos become even more essential, not just as invisible mass, but as regulators of orbital chaos. Their spherical or ellipsoidal geometry may dampen some of the violent oscillations introduced by tidal interactions, allowing the luminous disk to settle into a new, but deformed, configuration. The warp itself may not be uniform. Some simulations indicate that in such galaxies, different regions can oscillate at different frequencies, a phenomenon akin to galactic precession or nutation, where the disk wobbles subtly over time. This could give rise to resonances, regions of compressed gas or accumulated stars, which might serve as temporary nurseries for star formation. Indeed, astronomers have observed warped galaxies with surprising starburst regions located well outside the central disk, likely ignited by such gravitational compression. Spectroscopy offers another pathway to insight. By examining the Doppler shifts of different parts of the galaxy, scientists can map the kinematic disturbance, the twist in velocity space that mirrors the physical bend. If one side of the galaxy shows stars moving away faster than the other, it may suggest a rolling or folding motion, a three-dimensional deformation not always visible in two-dimensional projections. These kinematic maps could reveal hidden torques, angular momentum exchanges, or the aftershocks of tidal forces that shook the galaxy like a ribbon in wind. Even the color gradients across PGC 54559 may hold secrets. In galaxies, color is a proxy for age, blue regions suggest younger, hotter stars, while redder tones point to older, cooler populations. If the warp has preferentially stripped gas from one side or funneled it into another, there may be sharp contrasts in stellar population. A sudden shift from youth to senescence along a bent spiral arm would be compelling evidence of directional star formation, or its suppression, driven by gravitational instability. Beyond individual properties, galaxies like PGC 54559 serve as a reminder that the cosmic web is an arena of ongoing interaction. No galaxy exists in a vacuum. Every shape, every structure is a result of countless past relationships, with nearby galaxies, with satellite systems, with flows of gas and dark matter. Warped galaxies act as witnesses to the environmental history of the cosmos. In clusters, tidal effects are amplified, in voids, distortions are rare. Where PGC 54559 resides, and whether it's part of a larger gravitational drama, could contextualize its deformation within the grander stage of cosmic architecture. Philosophically, PGC 54559 invites reflection on the aesthetics of imperfection. In a universe governed by laws of symmetry and conservation, the beauty of a bent galaxy lies in its defiance. It bends, but does not break. It twists, but does not collapse. It is imperfect and therefore alive, still evolving, still participating in the ceaseless transformation of the cosmos. And so, in its arc, we find not just the record of a past encounter, but a question posed to future science: how do galaxies remember what touched them? How long does a cosmic scar last? And what does it mean for structure to endure, even when twisted beyond recognition? PGC 54559 is more than a malformed galaxy, it is a celestial paradox, suspended between beauty and disruption, coherence and chaos. In a cosmos where billions of galaxies trace out elegant spirals, spheroids, or lenticular disks, this warped anomaly asserts itself as a defiant exception, a structural outlier whose very existence forces a re-examination of galactic norms. It invites us to consider a profound question: what happens when a galaxy refuses to settle into symmetry? Its curvature is not merely a surface feature, it is the embodiment of dynamical history. This galaxy has not simply evolved in isolation. Its twisted spine suggests an external event of colossal scale, perhaps a glancing blow from a satellite galaxy, a gravitational harassment in a dense group, or even the gravitational echo of a flyby from a massive, invisible dark halo. These events act not instantaneously, but gradually, reshaping the angular momentum of the disk, deforming its symmetry, pulling its stars along new orbits that form the dramatic hook now etched across light-years of space. Yet this distortion is not a death sentence. PGC 54559 remains structurally intact. Its spiral character is still decipherable. Its stars have not been scattered like debris, and its nucleus remains gravitationally dominant. This defiance of dissolution points to a deep gravitational cohesion, likely supported by an extensive and massive dark matter halo that anchors the entire system against further unraveling. The very warp becomes a living signature of survival. The curvature is a scar, yes, but also a testament to the galaxy's resilience. And within this resilience may lie a deeper mystery. Are galaxies like PGC 54559 evolutionary cul-de-sacs, condemned to drift through the universe in distorted silence? Or do they represent transitional phases, bridges between familiar morphologies? Could the warp eventually settle, unwind, or smoothen into a more typical disk shape over billions of years? Or might new interactions amplify the distortion, pushing the system toward disintegration or a merger? There is no universal answer, because each warped galaxy is a product of unique initial conditions and evolutionary paths. But this uncertainty is part of what makes PGC 54559 so invaluable. Its very irregularity is a clue, perhaps even a missing piece, in the broader puzzle of galactic evolution. From an observational standpoint, warped galaxies like PGC 54559 offer rare laboratories for studying the role of angular momentum redistribution in stellar systems. In a textbook spiral galaxy, the rotation curve, how orbital velocity changes with radius, follows a predictable profile. In warped galaxies, however, this curve can twist, bend, or even bifurcate, depending on the severity and orientation of the warp. Studying these deviations can reveal not only the underlying mass distribution, including dark matter, but also how perturbations propagate through a stellar disk over time. Moreover, the gas dynamics within PGC 54559 are likely anything but simple. In ordinary spirals, gas tends to flow inward along the arms, feeding the central regions and fueling star formation. In a warped system, gas flow can become chaotic or redirected. Shock fronts may emerge where the curvature is greatest, compressing gas clouds and perhaps triggering bursts of star formation in places where none would occur under normal conditions. Alternatively, the warp could inhibit star formation by disrupting gas densities or increasing turbulence beyond the threshold for gravitational collapse. Either way, the curvature becomes not just a geometric oddity, but a direct modulator of galactic metabolism. There's also the matter of magnetic fields. Galactic-scale magnetic structures are difficult to observe, yet they play an essential role in shaping gas flow and cosmic ray propagation. In a warped galaxy, field lines may become twisted, folded, or disrupted, possibly enhancing magnetic turbulence or even generating localized dynamos that amplify field strength. The interplay between gravity, gas, and magnetism in such an environment could lead to emergent behavior not seen in flatter, more orderly systems. And then, there is the metaphysical dimension, a place where astronomy meets philosophy. In PGC 54559, we glimpse the aesthetics of asymmetry, the poetry of gravitational trauma. The galaxy is imperfect, yet enduring. It evokes the idea that damage does not preclude function, that disorder can coexist with stability. Its warped arms stretch like questions across the void. What forces shaped me? What have I survived? What will I become? In a sense, PGC 54559 is not just a galaxy. It is a story, one with characters, stars, conflict, interactions, memory, curvature, and potential, future evolution. It is a relic and a beacon. It embodies the truth that even in a universe governed by strict physical laws, beauty can arise from imbalance, and longevity can follow upheaval. As we observe it across the electromagnetic spectrum, from optical wavelengths to radio waves, from the faint whisper of neutral hydrogen to the searing birth of stars in infrared, PGC 54559 responds not with clarity, but with layered complexity. It tells us that the cosmos is not a static archive of forms, but a living, breathing, evolving expanse of stories still being written. In the curve of PGC 54559, we see ourselves, bent by unseen forces, scarred by past encounters, yet still coherent, still in motion, still illuminated. PGC 54559 is not alone in its distortion. Across the observable universe, astronomers have catalogued dozens, perhaps hundreds, of galaxies with subtle or severe warps, each with their own gravitational fingerprints. Yet few are as visually arresting as this one, whose curvature is so exaggerated, so dramatic, that it seems sculpted by intent. In galaxies like NGC 4013, we see more modest warps, an elegant upward curve in the outer disk, a gentle deviation from symmetry. ESO 510 G13 is another case, more extreme. Its disk appears visibly split, the midplane twisted like a ribbon of light in a slow cosmic wind. These galaxies, too, bear the legacy of tidal interactions. Yet PGC 54559 takes the distortion to a new level, one that challenges not only morphology, but metaphor. When placed alongside these galaxies, PGC 54559 appears less like a deviation and more like an evolution, a different expression of what galaxies can become when left to the will of gravity, motion, and time. The idea that spiral galaxies represent the most orderly structures in the cosmos is itself a kind of illusion. Spirals are inherently dynamic, always subject to imbalance. Warps are the visible tension lines in this balance, the aftermath of a force that arrived, tugged, and moved on. Theoretical models suggest that warps can emerge in several ways, from close interactions with satellite galaxies, from gas accretion with misaligned angular momentum, or from the torques induced by dark matter halos that are not perfectly symmetric. Each mechanism leaves different spectral and structural fingerprints. In PGC 54559, the dramatic curvature hints not at gradual accretion, but at sudden trauma, a flyby that didn't kill, but twisted. It's not just the stars and gas that bear this mark. Even the orbits of globular clusters, spherical groupings of ancient stars that orbit in the galactic halo, may be perturbed, tracing out elliptical or tilted trajectories around the warped disk. Studying their dynamics could act like seismology for galaxies, revealing the internal gravitational vibrations that ripple through the system long after the initial impact. There's also a haunting speculation: what if PGC 54559 once was part of a galactic pair, a binary system of two galaxies dancing in a prolonged gravitational embrace? In such systems, one partner may be cannibalized, absorbed, or flung away, while the other retains a warped memory of the encounter. Perhaps PGC 54559 is the survivor of such a drama, its arc the echo of a former partner, now lost in darkness or distance. From a cosmological standpoint, warped galaxies may also hold keys to understanding the distribution and shape of dark matter halos. In simulations, warps often correlate with triaxial halos, those whose mass distribution is elongated or flattened, rather than spherical. These asymmetries in the invisible scaffolding exert torques on the luminous matter, slowly twisting the disk into curvature. If this is the case for PGC 54559, then its deformation isn't just a record of past collisions, but a probe into the geometry of dark matter itself. And still, the galaxy turns. With each rotation, the stars within PGC 54559 trace the wound into motion, looping along arcs that would seem unnatural anywhere else. And yet, this motion is stable. Predictable. A kind of order has emerged from the distortion. Over hundreds of millions of years, the galaxy has restabilized into its new, bent configuration. Not a return to its original form, but an evolution into something stranger. This echoes one of the most profound truths of astrophysics: galaxies are not fixed, they are fluid memories made of stars. If we were to stand upon a planet orbiting a sun-like star within PGC 54559, we would look to the night sky and see a horizon not of symmetry, but of arc. The stars would stretch across the sky in a bent plane, and perhaps astronomers on that world would ask the same question: what happened to us? Who touched our stars? They, too, would peer into the void for clues, and the curvature above them would be the same gentle echo that reaches our telescopes. PGC 54559 speaks not just to astronomers, but to philosophers and poets of the cosmos. Its shape is a reminder that the universe is not made of perfection. It is made of persistence. The twist in its disk is a lesson in survival. The galaxy is bent, not broken. Alive, not extinguished. And more than anything, it is still writing its story. Because in the end, a warped galaxy is a galaxy that remembers. And in that remembrance lies the most extraordinary truth of all, that gravity, in all its invisible brutality, can also be an artist, sculpting galaxies not just into forms of function, but into symbols of history, of consequence, of grace under pressure. In the curvature of PGC 54559, we glimpse the fingerprints of time not as a smooth continuum, but as a pressure, bending, shaping, deforming. Time in the universe is not passive. It stretches structures, erodes symmetries, and leaves behind fossils in the fabric of space. The warp of this galaxy is a memory held in tension. It is the visible record of something that has passed but never truly left, a gravitational ghost, pressed into the orbits of stars. Entropy governs this story. Not merely as decay, but as complexity rising from initial conditions. In thermodynamics, entropy is the measure of disorder, of possibilities, of how systems evolve from simple to complex, from smooth to structured and then into chaos again. PGC 54559 sits in that strange middle, a galaxy suspended between order and entropy. Its shape is no longer the pristine spiral of a young galaxy, nor is it the chaotic debris field of galactic death. It is a warped memory, ordered enough to endure, chaotic enough to change. In this way, PGC 54559 becomes a metaphor not only for cosmic evolution, but for the human condition. We, too, are shaped by forces we did not choose, impacts that twist us, invisible hands that bend our trajectories. We orbit through time with our own distortions, our own asymmetries, carrying forward the consequences of encounters long past. Our identities are warped histories, just like galaxies, formed by proximity, by pressure, by motion through the dark. A spiral galaxy, in its ideal state, is often compared to a perfect clockwork, arms coiling around a center, stars rotating in harmony. But that is theory. In reality, galaxies are messy, layered, changing. Their arms are never fixed. Their symmetry is always breaking, reforming, dancing in response to invisible tides. And perhaps it is in this breaking that they become most beautiful. PGC 54559 is not ideal. It is not pristine. But it is authentic, honest in its deformation, and in that honesty, profound. Its arms do not reach out evenly. They stretch like questions, spiraling not inward, but forward. Toward something unfinished. Toward a future not yet written. Every loop of the spiral carries stars, gas, dust, memory, and potential. Somewhere in those warped arms, new stars may still be forming. Light is still being born in the bent shadows of cosmic trauma. And yet, there's a deeper stillness in its shape. A solemnity. As though the galaxy itself has accepted its transformation. It is not trying to return to what it was. It has become what it is through process, not accident. This is the secret symmetry of asymmetry, that in the cosmos, there are no mistakes, only outcomes. And in that frame, PGC 54559 is not a broken spiral. It is a new form of order. There is also something sacred in its silence. Unlike supernovae or quasars, this galaxy does not shout. It does not flare violently. It endures. It holds its story not in brightness, but in form. It remembers quietly, and this quiet memory is its message. It tells us that some truths are not explosive, they are curved. Bent. Softened by time. We often look at galaxies as scientific data, mass, velocity, metallicity. But PGC 54559 challenges that reduction. Its very appearance demands interpretation. It is not just what it is, but why it is, and how. This galaxy asks us to look deeper, not just with instruments, but with insight. It invites us to feel the history of the universe not as something cold and distant, but as something that lives in form. In shape. In curvature. In scars. Because galaxies do scar. They do not heal like organisms, but they carry the marks of all they have encountered. These marks do not fade. They become part of the structure. Part of the identity. And in this sense, PGC 54559 is not a distortion. It is a testament. To observe it is to read a line from a book written in gravitational language. A sentence curved across the sky. And as we read it, we see ourselves, not as observers separate from the cosmos, but as part of its same unfolding story, bent, but whole. Twisted, but coherent. Changed, but enduring. PGC 54559 is not a failure of structure. It is the memory of impact. The beauty of imperfection. The architecture of time. What is a galaxy if not a container of memory? Each orbit, each filament of dust, each swirl of hydrogen is a memory in motion, a relic not preserved in stillness, but replayed endlessly in rotation. PGC 54559, with its warped spine, becomes a cosmic brain, its twisted arms the neuronal branches of a universal mind, storing the echo of what once passed through. It has no language, and yet it speaks. It has no thoughts, and yet it remembers. There is something deeply conscious in its form, not in the biological sense, but in the sense that it responded. It was touched, and it did not collapse, it transformed. And that is the essence of awareness, to be affected, to register impact, and to integrate change. PGC 54559 is not static. It is in process, in adaptation, in a continual reconfiguration of form that resembles nothing short of cosmic cognition. It reminds us that memory in the universe is not confined to brains or texts. The universe writes memory into structure, into spiral arms and warped disks, into ionized clouds and magnetic lines, into gravity wells and time loops. Memory is shape. It is imprint. And just as our minds carry the curvatures of our experience in emotional and neurological form, galaxies like PGC 54559 carry theirs in stellar distributions, in curvatures stretched across light-years. This raises an exquisite symmetry. As we study the galaxy, it also studies us, silently, passively, by being a mirror. Its curvature reflects our own. The way we spiral through our own lives, pulled and warped by forces we often don't see, relationships, accidents, histories, grief, love, is not so different from the way stars curve under tidal forces. We are all shaped by what comes near. Perhaps that is the most haunting metaphor. PGC 54559 is a portrait of what it means to be changed by proximity. It did not choose its distortion. It did not plan for it. But it carries it with grace. And through that distortion, it has become unforgettable. Unique. It is no longer just another spiral in the dark. It is the spiral that bent. The spiral that survived the bend. And in this survival lies its identity. It teaches us something profound about resilience, not as the refusal to bend, but as the ability to bend without breaking. To incorporate the pull, the pressure, the trauma, and continue turning, shining, holding shape. PGC 54559 is not perfect. It is better, it is true. True to the universe's most sacred pattern, that structure is forged through change. Even its silence is a lesson. It does not cry out like a quasar or explode like a dying star. Its voice is form. Its testimony is curvature. And in that curvature is encoded an entire chapter of the universe, untranslated, but readable. We often seek perfection in symmetry. But the universe, in its deepest truths, is asymmetric. Particles spin unevenly. Time flows in one direction. Matter outweighs antimatter. Life forms from disorder. And galaxies, too, bend, because in bending, they show us how structure persists not in spite of imperfection, but through it. PGC 54559 does not scream. It bends. And in that bending, it reveals the architecture of endurance, an enduring spiral that did not fracture when pulled, that did not collapse when touched by forces vast and unseen. Its curvature is not collapse. It is transformation. And in that transformation, we find a metaphor not just for galaxies, but for time, for memory, for identity itself. Every spiral is a symbol of time. The coil of a snail's shell. The turning of DNA. The hurricane. The whirl of a fingerprint. The spiral of a galaxy. These are not coincidences. They are the geometry of emergence, of life itself. And in PGC 54559, that spiral is bent, as though time itself has curved, not in the relativistic sense, but in the existential one. It is the visible imprint of what happens when history leaves a scar. We imagine galaxies as fixed and far. But they are not statues, they are stories in motion. Their stars orbit not in perfect circles, but in ellipses and loops, like thoughts cycling through the mind. And when something passes close, another galaxy, a wave of dark matter, a rogue current of cosmic gas, those thoughts are interrupted. Paths shift. And a new story begins. The warp is the punctuation in the sentence, the curve in the spiral, the reminder that nothing evolves in isolation. Entropy, the great shaper of everything, does not simply erase. It builds complexity from simplicity. It allows systems to grow more intricate, more beautiful, even as they drift from equilibrium. The warping of PGC 54559 is not a fall from grace, it is an ascension into uniqueness. The pristine symmetry of a spiral may be pleasing, but it is the warped, the twisted, the asymmetrical that carries narrative weight. This galaxy has a past. It is written in curvature. If one were to model its structure in high resolution, tracing the position of every star, every cloud of gas, you would find a dynamical system still in balance, not the balance of stillness, but of rhythm. The stars dance through space not randomly, but in resonance. Even the bend has music. Even the asymmetry has harmony. And beyond its physical reality, the metaphor expands. Because PGC 54559 is not just a thing to be measured. It is an image, one that haunts, that stays with you after you've seen it. It is the feeling of being bent by something vast. Of being changed, but not undone. It is the sensation of still spinning, even after the impact. It is what it means to be alive after catastrophe. Just as we carry our own histories in posture, in scars, in memories that bend our lives into new directions, so too does this galaxy carry its past in its form. Its arms are no longer symmetrical. But they are still open. They still reach. They still curve through space, as if to say, I have been altered, but I endure. From a cosmic vantage point, this is the story of everything. The universe itself is a warped spiral. Born in fire, expanding outward, twisted by gravity, shaped by death and rebirth. Stars live and die. Galaxies merge and separate. Structures collapse and reform. Nothing remains untouched. Everything that persists does so by folding change into form. PGC 54559 is not the exception. It is the expression. And we, brief flashes of consciousness within this galactic epoch, can recognize it. Not just with our instruments, but with our intuition. Because we, too, are spirals. Made of atoms forged in ancient stars. Bent by time. Changed by forces we sometimes do not understand. But still orbiting, still luminous, still becoming. Perhaps this is why PGC 54559 moves us. It shows us that survival is a shape. That history is not something you carry behind you, but something you wear. That scars can become structure. That asymmetry can be sacred. It is not broken. It is storied. Not distorted. Remembering. Not irregular. Alive. And so the spiral continues, not in perfect circles, but in imperfect arcs. Not in silence, but in the quiet hum of gravitational memory. PGC 54559 turns still. And with each turn, it reminds the universe, and us, that to be bent is not to be broken. It is to be written into the greater poetry of time. Shall I continue even further, with a closing passage on universal interconnectedness, or bring this cosmic elegy to a final crescendo? PGC 54559 turns, slowly, imperceptibly, but faithfully. Its arms sweep across the deep sky like brushstrokes in the dark, invisible to the naked eye, yet undeniable in their presence. They do not conform to symmetry, not anymore. And that is precisely why they matter. Because nothing in this universe is untouched. Not stars. Not galaxies. Not people. We are all, in some way, warped. By time. By loss. By encounter. By gravity, both literal and emotional. And like PGC 54559, we continue despite it. Through it. Not as the same, but as something reshaped, more complex, more truthful, more beautiful in our asymmetry. The galaxy does not resist the forces that bend it. It yields. And in yielding, it survives. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. The wisdom of 10 billion years, of matter organizing itself into light, then into spiral bent by time. It is the wisdom of the cosmos, that what bends is not necessarily broken. That what curves may be the most stable of all. There are likely trillions of galaxies in the observable universe. Most are unknown to us. Many look similar, ellipticals, spirals, irregulars. But this one, PGC 54559, is unforgettable. Because it speaks. It tells a story, not in words, but in form. Its message is not encrypted in language, but in physics, in light, in gravitational memory. And if we listen, not just with instruments, but with attention, we hear it. You will be shaped by what moves near you. You will be pulled, stretched, bent. You will not be the same. But you will not be less. You will endure. And you will turn. Still shining. This is the universal law, not written in equations, but in existence itself. Interconnection is inescapable. No galaxy forms alone. No being exists in isolation. What passes near leaves a mark. Some pass gently, leaving only faint ripples. Others come close and change everything, forever. We, too, carry these imprints. We call them memories, relationships, dreams, grief, love. The invisible gravitational fields of our lives. They bend our paths. Reshape our orbits. Sometimes we resist. But sometimes, like PGC 54559, we learn to curve with the force. To spiral anew, in a direction we didn't expect. To embody the encounter. PGC 54559 is a cosmic wound that healed in shape. It did not seal over. It did not erase. It remembered. And that memory became architecture. So what are we, then, if not galaxies ourselves? Clusters of memory. Spirals of thought. Energy flowing in patterns inherited from the past. Distorted, yes, but luminous. Unfinished, but real. And just like galaxies, the more deeply we are warped, the more visible our story becomes. This is what the cosmos teaches, not in speech, but in silence full of stars. That resilience is form. That memory is motion. That every scar can become light. That every spiral, no matter how bent, still turns. So let us honor the curve. Let us see in PGC 54559 not a mistake, but a message. A mirror held up to the soul of the universe itself. Bent. Enduring. Alive. Becoming. Somewhere, hundreds of millions of light years away, a single galaxy curves against the cosmic sea. PGC 54559 does not blaze like a quasar. It does not erupt like a supernova. It simply turns. Quietly. Patiently. As if waiting for someone to notice, not just its presence, but its shape. And we have noticed. We have seen the arc of its arms and read them like script on a forgotten scroll. We have traced its bend, not as an error, but as a sentence. A sentence written by gravity, by time, by encounter. A sentence that says, its arms are not broken. They are remembering. They are the trace of something that passed too close, the evidence of a dialogue between mass and motion, between self and other. It is a monument to proximity, to tension, to resilience. It is the visual echo of a galaxy that allowed itself to be altered, and in doing so, survived. What a stunning philosophy it offers us. That permanence is not required for beauty. That balance does not require symmetry. That endurance is not the absence of pressure, but the ability to carry it in your form. PGC 54559 has become a cathedral of motion. A sanctuary of scars. Its asymmetry is not disorder, it is structure written by memory. It has incorporated every encounter into its own architecture, and in that architecture we see the quiet triumph of continuity. And still, PGC 54559 turns. Out there, in the silence between galaxies, where time stretches across eons, And memory is written not in words but in curvature. The galaxy continues. It does not return to symmetry. It does not erase what happened. It carries its shape as truth. And in that truth lies everything. In that shape is its voice. Its beauty. Its quiet declaration. I am not a mistake. I am a trace. I am a survivor of form. And I am still here. Its spiral is warped, but whole. Its stars still orbit, not perfectly, but purposefully. Its light has traveled millions of years. To tell us of proximity. Of endurance. Of cosmic memory. And maybe, of us. Because we, too, are galaxies. Each of us carries a warp. A curve from what came close. Each of us continues to shine, not in spite of that bend. But because of it. No path is untouched. No orbit unshaped. No life without gravity. And yet, we move. As long as we move, we live. As long as we shine, we remember. And as long as we remember, we are part of something greater. PGC 54559 is not just a galaxy. It is a message. A mirror. A monument to the truth. That even in distortion, there is harmony. That even in asymmetry, there can be eternity. And that even the most twisted vessel of light is still light. So ends its story. And so begins ours.